Hello and welcome to the official Haters Euro 2024 Daily Show. I'm your host, Aaron Goldstein, and today I'm joined by Freddie Walker and Cameron Lee of the Centre Spot podcast. Today is the big day. Carlos Alcaraz versus Novak Djokovic. England versus Spain. It's fish and chips versus paella. King Charles versus King Felipe. Gareth Southgate versus Luis de la Fuente. Jerry Cox was out in Berlin last night.
Cox here from HaytersTV. Yes, you guessed it. I'm in the Olympic Stadium Berlin. Just have a look over there. Look at that scene. Perfectly set. It's going to be a fantastic final. I'm speaking on Saturday night. It's nearly 10 o'clock local time. Southgate and Luis de la Fuente have just done their press conferences. Teams have done their final preparations. Now it's all about the game. I predicted right at the outset, if you remember, guys, England to win, Jude Bellingham player of the tournament, Harry Kane golden boot. All of those things could happen. All of those things could go wrong. It could be Dani Olmo golden boot. It could be Spain winning it. It could be anyone being man of the tournament. Lamine Yamal, any of those young guns. But let's hope it's England, because I think we've got a real chance. It's Gareth Southgate's last game, I guess, one way or another. It'd be great to go out on a high for Gareth. And, of course, it would just mean so much for English football to finally win a trophy after all these years.
Prior to the tournament, Cam, you actually predicted on the Centre Spot podcast that Spain would not only win the tournament, they'd beat England in the final. Just saying. You can go back and watch the Centre Spot podcast and see it for real. Today, if you were a neutral, how would you be thinking about this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, any final in football, brings excitement out of fans, and it's not more so than international football. And I think this one, actually, if you look at the storylines behind it, you've got one of the best teams in the tournament, absolutely, without doubt, the best team in the tournament so far in Spain, who've cruised through to the final. And then you've got this England team, which, have had a obviously well-known, well-documented, difficult history. But they've, over the last 8 years, they've built this squad of, quite likeable guys. And by hook or by crook, after some really big disappointments, they managed to get their way to the final. So I think across Europe and across the world, people will be watching on with excitement and interest, seeing how this battle sort of plays out. And I don't think a lot of people will be writing off England today, I have to say.
I think it's generous to say that there's a neutral within Europe, because there's England fans in England and Spanish fans around the rest of Europe.
I think you're being harsh, Fred.
No. Maybe you could argue Portugal don't want Spain to win it, but honestly, I think pretty much every other European nation wants Spain to win this game. And we'll see. We'll obviously come on to our predictions, but I'm very excited for it. It's going to be an incredible game.
There are so many quality players on both sides. What's the key battle today, do you think, Cam?
Look, I think there's been some real good sort of performances so far this tournament. For me, though, I think the standout performer for the Spain team has been Lamine Yamal. The story behind him, the youth. He's gonna. I thought that
he's old now. He's 17. Yeah. It's his birthday yesterday.
It's so much written in the stars that maybe he stands up and does something. So for me, I think whoever starts either Shaw or Trippier really need to step up their game and really, maybe get into him a little bit early. Show him, the English way of playing. Make him not really fancy being there potentially.
That's child abuse, Kev.
Yeah. maybe. Take it back to the 90s style of football.
In terms of the key back, I think Rodri against trying to shut down kind of Bellingham, Foden. If he can win that's going to make England suffer a lot and fail to create many chances. I also think Saka versus Cucurella is an interesting one. We've seen it previously in the Premier League, and Saka tends to win it. But if you can get Saka on the ball, beating Cucurella, then England could be in for a goal.
For me, there's so many players that you can talk about in that Spanish team, but I'm worried about Nico Williams. Sorry, my God, both of them. Terrifying toss to go up against such speed, such power. And the goals he scored, Pickford's going to have to be on top form today. The Spain team is dangerous, and the tournament's top scorer, the joint top scorer, is a player that wouldn't even usually make their starting 11. He's there because Pedri's injured, Dani Olmo. Now, is he the player that you're most concerned about today? So far in the tournament, he's played 5 games, only started 2 of them, but scored 3. Nobody scored more. 2 assists, which if everything finished as it is now, he'd win the golden boot because he's got the most assists. He's having 3 shots a game, 1.8 key passes, 2.8 completed dribbles per game, successful dribbles, and a SofaScore rating of 7.94, which is 0.06 away from being in the blue, which is very, 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 very highly rated. If you are a fan of football, then I highly recommend that you download SofaScore by scanning the QR code in the top left or the link in our description. You can get more stats on Dani Olmo or any player for that matter. Is he the the one we need to worry about?
Absolutely. Danny Olmo's had a fantastic tournament. He's really stepped up, really sort of made a name for himself in a way that maybe before the tournament it wasn't quite the same. I mean, in a way, I was kind of dreaming that Morata's more involved. I feel like our maybe defenders maybe a bit more used to him. Obviously, he came to the Premier League a few years ago and struggled a little bit there. But I mentioned his name before. For me, the main man we've got to look out for today, I think it's almost destined for him to step up, is Lamine Yamal. I think if we can stop him, you almost in a way stop the story of the Spain side. You know what I mean? So it's look, they've got the thing with Spain. They've got talent all over the field. If you look at Ruiz in the midfield too, he can sort of pull some strings. So there's so much danger. I think it's almost unfair to pinpoint it on one man. But Danny Olmo is definitely a threat.
I mean, he's almost lucky to be there, isn't he? He's lucky that Cruz decided to batter Pedri and injure him for the rest of the tournament. And then Danny Olmo comes in and becomes one of the players of the tournament so far and is key for Spain. And if we're talking a Spanish goal, Danny Olmo will probably have something to do with it, whether he's assisting it or he's scoring it. He's going to be a very, very dangerous man. But as Cam mentioned, hell of a lot of dangerous players in the Spanish team, but also the English team.
Well, Harry Kane's trophy drought is well documented. In fact, in his first game with Bayern Munich, he had the chance to end the drought as he played in the German Super Cup final. But one man had other ideas.
Bayern Munich and Harry Kane on his debut to deny him a trophy. How much would you like to do the same or similar on Sunday?
A lot. Of course, it will be a dream to score a hat-trick on the final and win it, of course. But I repeat, the goal is to win. Of course, I will be happy if I could help the team with a goal, but the main objective is to win the trophy.
Well, no player scored a hat-trick so far this tournament. I don't think they're going to start in the final. My God, Harry Kane is just probably praying right now that this Spain team have an off day. Look, we've spoken about Dani Olmo, we've spoken about Lamine Yamal, but I want to touch on him quickly because he has been the story of the tournament. If you think about Spanish football, everybody thinks about tiki-taka, that era of 2008, 2012, where they were unstoppable. This is a completely new Spain team. And Lamine Yamal is really at the forefront of it all because he's the youngest. He's the one that's going to be there leading them for the future. How do you stop him?
I mean, it's a question that the six coaches of the teams that Spain have comfortably beaten on their way to the final have all asked and not been unable to find an answer. Look, I've kind of mentioned it a little bit before, and you know, Freddie, at risk of being accused of child abuse by Freddie, I think you've got to go a little bit old school. Like, you've got to take advantage of the fact that he is so young, he is so inexperienced. Yes, there's so much talent there. You've got to give him a hard time. You know, at corners, give him a little pinch in the side, that type of thing. Get in his head a little bit, because look, there's no doubt the talent this guy has, this boy has. So maybe you've got to go a little bit sort of bring in some of the dark arts of football, maybe.
Bring in the Ben White, Antonio Rudiger kind of thing.
Exactly.
Have you seen Morata about Antonio Rudiger?
No, what did he say?
He said, it's so annoying. I don't mind the competitiveness, but the nipple cripples, they hurt.
They do hurt. I can testify for that, actually.
I think in a tactical way to stop Lamine Yamal, the way that I've seen it on the right that clubs stop Saka is by doubling down on him. The winger has to come back and help the wing back out, and the left centre back has to help the left back out, and they just have to go two on him, stop him cutting in, and then stop him going down the wing. And if you can stop him doing that, he's going to struggle to either get a shot away or get a ball into the box, and that would be the way I'd go about it if I was Gareth Southgate.
I mean, what concerns me about that a little bit, Fred, is, you know, in a way, look, we know that Spain, they've gone this new sort of strategy and sort of really utilising the wingers, Yamal and Williams being the sort of key examples of that. But, you know, and what makes me think there when I hear players being doubled up on, that's opening space up somewhere else in the pitch, and potentially Spain might be looking at and thinking, okay, Yamal might be the main man who sort of executes, you know, the assist and the goal, but maybe he opens up the space that someone else who's got loads of talent on the pitch can do. So something to keep an eye out there for.
Yeah, you say that. I think Saka enjoys it when he's doubled up on, because all he has to do is flick it from his left foot to his right, and he's in between the two.
Yeah. Sure.
And that's what the best players can do.
Easy as that.
True.
The Spain manager, Luis de la Fuente, has managed all age groups of the Spanish national side and he's now taken charge of the men's team since 2022. Let's take a look at his record in charge of the national team. 22 games, 19 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. Those 2 losses, though, were against Scotland, and the other one was Colombia. And do you know where that Colombia game happened? In England. Just saying. Just little.
It's a sign.
It's 2.64 points per game. They're just a monstrous side with him in charge. I am nervous. How does he get them playing? How would you say they're going to line up today? What's their style of play?
Look, they've gone from the death by 1,000 passes sort of strategy that we saw from that great team from 2008 to 2012 to, really utilising those wingers, as we mentioned before. So, I mean, as I said, it's, when we speaking about key battles earlier, our fullbacks are going to have the game of their life, which is a little bit unfortunate given the weakness that England is probably our biggest weakness on the pitch. So they're really going to have to step up. But then also too, the thing is with Spain is that they've just looked so assured, so comfortable in all their games. So as I said before about those dark arts and stuff, we're going to have to try and do things to throw them off their game, get in their heads a little bit. Because you know what, like after the England women's in the World Cup final, I'm sick and tired of losing to the Spain side. So we've got to do something to sort of throw them off track a little bit, and hopefully it'll come good for England.
Yeah, we heard from the Spain manager yesterday evening.
A team like England, which is super powerful, that hasn't lost, etc. But we need to stick to our idea, to our game plan, and what we need to convey that sort of message. That is my responsibility, to convey that sort of confidence to my players, and that is the important thing. That is the process. Be yourself. Be convinced of who you are, be confident of who you are, and try to be as little surprised as possible by our opponents. But that is obviously uncontrollable. So thank you very much and have a good evening.
What a way to end it. Thank you very much. I'm off to go win the Euros. Just kidding. So look, the Spanish midfield is what we really need to worry about. I think everybody knows that. Fabian Ruiz has been spoken about a lot. He's actually your player of the tournament, I believe.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Look, I think a lot of the time when the winning team normally has the player contained within it. So I think if Spain were to win the Euros tonight, I think Ruiz would be a very fair pick. Fred, for me, I'll go from the other. Let's be positive. Let's imagine a world where England do win. Who are the players that have really stood up for us? And I think I can think of no better man in terms of the story. Bukayo Saka, where he was at Euro 2021, some of the performance he's put in, it's fair to say England would not be in the position they are in right now if it wasn't for that man. And I think he's been fantastic throughout the tournament. So he'd be my little pick.
Yeah, we talk about the midfield. Yes, Spain's is good, but so is ours. At the heart of their midfield, they've got Manchester City's main man in Rodri. At the heart of ours, we've got Arsenal's record signing, Declan Rice. He's also the key ingredient to Spanish paella. Haters have partnered with SofaScore, and we've taken a look at the stats between the two of them. If we get both of their stats up on the screen now, their heat maps are very interesting. The one thing I will say about Declan Rice, whenever I look at his heat map, I love that little top left corner because he takes set pieces for Arsenal. And his set pieces for Arsenal were sensational last year. And I'm actually surprised England haven't utilised that more. But then again, he's fairly tall, and we also saw him score as the result of a corner against Man United. So he's someone that is a threat everywhere, despite his defensive capabilities. Look, they're very similar players. Rodri's stats are marginally better, let's be real. They've both played over 60 games last season. They must be knackered. Both deserve a break. Declan Rice more because I want him fresh for next season at Arsenal. 12 goals for Rodri and 14 assists, where Declan Rice got 7 and 10 for Arsenal. Very similar record to what Granit Xhaka had, but Rice has just transformed this Arsenal team into being serious world beaters. They're both in the greens on the SofaScore, which means over the course of the season they were consistently getting good ratings. And I think realistically, if Spain's midfield are going to be kept at bay today, it's going to be Declan Rice that's preventing that.
Absolutely.
What have you thought of Rice at the tournament so far, Cam?
Yeah, I think he's had a good tournament. I wouldn't say he's been one of our England standout performers. I could be being a little bit harsh here, but I feel like throughout some of the games, he maybe hasn't had, obviously, gave the ball away for that goal against the Netherlands the other day. So I think tonight, if England are going to win the tournament, he's going to have his best performance. Look, there's no doubt the impact he's had on this Arsenal team has been extremely impressive. And I would go as far to say there are very few players in the world that are better Declan Rice at what he does, but unfortunately he's playing one tonight in Rodri. So he's going to have the game of his tournament, potentially game of his life tonight.
Fred, if Declan Rice is worth 105 million, how much is Rodri worth?
Oh, 150 probably. I mean, Rodri is the best in that position in the world. He's the only one that you look at the Spain team and think, he could challenge in that 2008 to 2012 Spanish team. Sure. He's an unbelievable player, and it's kind of annoying as an Arsenal fan to look at those stats and see Rodri kind of better Rice in pretty much all of them. But you've got to give him the credit where credit's due, and he's the key man both for club and for country. He's only lost once in 80 games. Yeah, and this guy doesn't lose.
Yeah. And
So we don't want Rodri on the pitch tonight.
for sure. And look, stats like that, they aren't, maybe if a player plays 20 games without losing, maybe you could call that a coincidence. But it gets to the point when you start doing one loss in 80, that he is obviously a leader on the pitch. He obviously drags players with him. And players obviously look to him to, try and, create something within a game or push them over the line when needed. So yeah, absolutely unbelievable player and someone we've really got to try and nullify tonight.
We've spoken a lot about Spain. Before we talk about England in any great depth, Freddie, are there any comments coming through?
Yeah, so we have a comment from NI saying England after extra time, it's coming home. We've also had more confidence from Calvin Liu saying England will win the Euro Championship. So there's a lot of confidence right now in the chat. Ben Spooky Squad saying if we get a red card in the first 20 minutes, it's going home to Spain. Don't think like that, Ben.
Yeah, stay positive, Ben.
It's negative thinking there, and it scares me. And just to finish it off, Will Draws says, if Scotland can do it, then ... I think he's referring to England can do it too. Obviously, that's in reference to the qualifiers for this tournament where Scotland did indeed beat Spain.
And I'm sure all the Scottish will be cheering us on from Hayden's Ward this evening.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a look at the European champions-elect. We've been here before. We were here last time round in the final of Euro 2020, 2021. It was a different story. Hopefully a different outcome again tonight. Let's have a look at how England lined up at Wembley 3 years ago. Now, in terms of what I expect, 6 of that team that started there are likely to start again tonight. 8 are likely to play when you're including Bukayo Saka and one of the fullbacks, because it's unlikely we're going to play Shaw and Trippier from the start today. Do you think that the pain of losing last time will carry us over the line this time?
I mean, absolutely. You'd hope so. You would hope so. And if you look throughout football, there's been plenty of examples where a team has, suffered, great pain in a game and then gone on to sort of achieve glory. I mean, Liverpool come to mind when that 100-point season from City where they lost by 1 point. They then walked the league next year, also Champions League. But then also it doesn't work the same way. Arsenal, very painful league, came second last year. You thought they maybe follow up this season and they weren't able to get over the line. So it does work both ways. But I mean, you'd really hope that they were able to sort of take how much that hurt and really use it. But I mean, look, saying that, just because we got upset last time, the Spanish aren't going to care about that. They're on their own story. They've got they're on their own path. So remember that pain, remember how much it hurt, and really try and channel it into getting a win tonight.
I would just echo what Cam said there, essentially, that you do see a lot of teams get to a final of the Champions League, say. They fail at the first time, and then the second time they get that win. And it's due to the players just having the experience and being able to handle the occasion that they're in and being able to block out a lot of the noise that comes with it. So hopefully these England players are used to this now, and they can deal with the pressure.
That England team, obviously what we're missing today, Harry Maguire didn't make the squad, but he was fantastic at the last Euros. Mason Mount, also another player that was really good last time around, and it's just not the same. And Raheem Sterling, kind of the replacements in that 11 and that fold. We've seen Mark Gahey come in and Phil Foden, 2 players that actually scored for England in the under-17 World Cup final against Spain.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2017.
What's the stat?
Yeah, you love to see it. Look, that final was infamous for the misfortune of one man in particular, the nation's star boy, Bukayo Saka. He got strangled, tackled, thrown to the floor by Chiellini before missing that famous penalty in the shootout against Donnarumma. But he's never been the same. He's only got better. He's probably been England's best player since that Euro 2020 final. Since then, he's played 39 games for the national team, scored 12. As we know, no player playing for Arsenal has scored more goals for England than Bukayo Saka. Very interesting fact. He's got 6 assists in that time. No player's got more man of the matches than him. And he's in the green. 7.16 is his average rating, meaning he's consistently performing well. If you want to look at Saka stats in more detail or look at any player, then download SofaScore by scanning the QR code in the top left or using the link in our description. Saka tonight, he's up against Marc Cucurella. Cam, he's got him on toast, surely.
You'd certainly hope so. Look, I think on my second or third show a couple of weeks ago, we briefly spoke about Cucurella and how impressive he'd been so far in this tournament. I think he's only continued that throughout the knockout stages. But if you look at the previous matchups between these two, I think last time they faced each other, Arsenal won 5-0 in an absolute riot at the Emirates against Chelsea. So he's definitely got previous form for him. You'd hope so. I think it's one of those key battles that if Saka wins this, England's chances of winning the game go up, exponentially.
Well, just on that Arsenal-Chelsea game, there was a viral clip after that game of two lovers dancing in the Emirates after the 5-0 at Chelsea. They were indeed Spanish, so I'm hoping that's not happening tonight after Saka cooks Cucurella again this time. But yeah, I think he'll win that battle. He tends to win that battle, but Cucurella has been much better this tournament, and at the end of Chelsea's season last year, he picked up form. So, and
he's also playing in a coherent team. That wasn't maybe fair to say when Arsenal faced Chelsea at the end of last season. So it'd be an interesting battle.
Over the course of the tournament, there's been a lot of talk about Gareth Southgate. There always is, because we come from a pretty miserable country. Everyone's always got something to complain about. It's the real question is, will he stay or will he go? World Cup semi-final, a second Euros final in the last 6 years. It means more than Southgate. It means more to Southgate than it does to most of us. The passion whenever England win, you just see how much it means in his face. Declan Rice was asked, will he stay or will he go?
Up to the news this morning, it had been reported that they're set for him to stay until 26. I think this journey and this road that he's been on has been so special. Hopefully we can do something special on Sunday for him for sure. And I know for a fact the lads would love him to stay on until 26. You know, there's no doubt about that. The way that he looks after us, the way how calm he is, how he is as a man manager, how he is on the training pitch with us, he's top. But none of us have spoke to him. You know, that's none of our business. Whatever he wants to do, whatever makes him happy, I'm sure he'll make the right decision. But I'm sure he's got the backing of everyone to stay on.
You're Gareth Southgate. You make the call. If England win tonight, do you leave on a high or do you want to carry that on into the next World Cup? If you lose, do you want to leave before it gets toxic? What do you think?
I mean, if I'm coming from a Southgate, from Southgate's angle, that's an incredibly tough decision to make, because I think the way he's been treated so far this Euros has been extremely unfair. I go back to, people throwing, beer glasses at him and stuff like that, like completely unacceptable. Especially if you look at, I think I saw a stat the other day. It was like England in knockout tournaments between 1872 and 2016, 9 knockout wins. Gareth Southgate's on 8. Right. So this guy is by far and away, and I'm actually going to say it right now, he's the best manager England have ever had. Okay. I know Sir Alf Ramsey won it. He won a 16-man World Cup at home. Okay. This guy's taken us to our first final in Germany. He's completely changed the mindset. Look at the level of expectation this country now has. So if he wants to stay, before the tournament, I know I said a lot of things before the tournament, a lot of them actually were right. I said, Southgate, if he has to win, that's the only way he can stay in the job. But now, given how the tournament's gone, given what I've seen from this group, it's completely up to him. But if he were to lose tonight, no matter how it happened, I believe that he will eventually lead us to glory. So,
if I was Southgate and I win tonight, I am getting so quickly out that door and just accepting my knighthood, all the plaudits, because it only goes downhill from there. Honestly, okay, maybe he could win a World Cup, but that would just be ridiculous. It's going to be so competitive at the next World Cup, and that's so difficult to do, to go and get that achievement again. You've brought football home. After how many years of waiting, like you've achieved what everyone has wanted to be achieved for so long, and go out and get away from all this horrible media attention and criticism that he gets, and enjoy your life as a hero of the nation. And to be honest, if he loses, it's going to be tough for him to stay, I think. But even though it has been a great tournament, it feels like somewhat it's come to the end of this team's era with Southgate.
Obviously, we frame this from Gareth Southgate's perspective, but I mean, if you were to say it from the FA, as a fan, maybe, I mean, you ask any sheep, Freddie, the grass isn't always green on the other side. Yeah. And I feel like to maybe make that change, who are we going to bring in? It's not guaranteed. With Southgate, we've got a proven track record of getting through to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and even finals on a couple of occasions of these major tournaments. So I wouldn't be as happy to see him go. I'd be quite hesitant in pushing him out the door potentially. So definitely one we have to think about and make sure we find the alternative or replacement for him. I
mean, obviously it's all about international football, but I grew up club football wise as an Arsenal fan. And I remember the day that Arsene Wenger announced he was leaving, and it felt weird. It was like something's going to change. Everything's going to go different. I'm a massive Gareth Southgate fan. I don't know if you ever saw the play Dear England. I went to go watch it with my dad.
Always wanted to see it, never got around to, unfortunately.
And it just kind of confirmed my admiration for Southgate, because obviously he's not the actor in the show.
He's a German. He's a German police officer.
But just the way that Southgate carries the England pride, there's something about him. I want him to stay regardless of the outcome. I hope he gets all of the plaudits he deserves. Look, England have a lot of talent in this team, and there are murmurs that if/when we win tonight, the Ballon d'Or will be coming to an Englishman for the first time since 2001. That was, of course, Michael Owen. This time around, Jude Bellingham. He's had the most ridiculous season for Real Madrid in Spain and with the England national team. 53 games, 27 goals, 15 assists, 2.15 shots per game. This is not even a standout striker. If you look at his heat map, he does like to drift onto the left, doesn't he? 1.68 key passes per game, 110 minutes per goal or assist. I'm actually surprised on that because it felt last season like he was playing New Star Soccer. It was like literally like every single game he's going to get something, and you kind of felt he's missed a clutch. Like El Clasico. First El Clasico, of course he scores the winner because who else? That's literally what he said when he scored against Slovakia. A bicycle kick. It's not normal. He's not human. 7.87 is his average rating over the course of the season. He's a joke. He's an absolute joke. Do you think it helps that he's familiar with Spanish football today? Or is it just a matter of the fact that he's very good at football? It doesn't matter who he plays against. He's going to be good at football.
I don't know. I definitely think the experience of playing in another country, especially in the country of the team that we're playing today, would definitely sort of help him. It's funny, actually, after the 2016 game against Iceland, my first ever call into a radio show was to make the point that I feel like why England struggle to compare to other nations is our players don't go out and play their ply their trade abroad, especially at that point too. But now, if we look at our team, our captain, best highest goal scorer in Germany, I think he broke a record last season. Jude Bellingham making absolute major waves in Spain. So I feel like we're starting to see our best players go out and sort of ply their trade abroad in the same way that Spanish players, Italian players, and German players, you regularly see them go all over the country. And I think that experience definitely, there's so much to learn from it, and it can definitely sort of help you in winning international tournaments.
I will just say before you take that, Bukayo Saka, don't get any ideas.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think that he knows quite a few of those players pretty well. He's obviously played against Nico Williams. He knows Carvajal. If Nacho starts, he knows Nacho. He knows these guys and maybe knows their weaknesses. Could maybe give a few hints to the English team of how to beat them. What's Carvajal's weaknesses. How's Phil Foden going to take him on and get a ball into Harry Kane and score a goal? So yeah, whether it's going to feed into the game that much, he's just a great player and he's going to contribute, of course. But yeah, he definitely will have had a conversation with Gareth Southgate about it.
Professional football, professional sport, as with life, it's all about mentality. Now, Bellingham in his first season in Spain won the Champions League and La Liga. A winning mentality is massive. So let's have a look at the Spanish team and the English team and how they performed for club level with the trophies they've won. I actually asked SofaScore for this graphic thinking that England would be better. And I was wrong. 157 trophies won by the Spanish squad, 84 won by the English, 58 domestic leagues in comparison to our 33. We have 11 players in our squad that have never won a single trophy. They have just 2. One of those, of course, I think is probably David Raya, who won't get on the pitch. One of those 11 for us is our captain, Harry Kane. Does it make a difference that Kane's never won anything? What do you think?
Not particularly. I think it was somewhat a consequence of the environment and the club that he was at, where it's more within Spurs that they're struggling to win a trophy. Obviously, he got pretty unlucky by going to Bayern, and it's the first time they ever won a trophy in however many years. But yeah, I think Kane's mentality is very strong, and that's probably why he left Spurs.
Well, Kane was asked about this last night, so we heard from that now.
If I had the opportunity, yeah, for sure, yeah. No, of course, it's it's no secret, that I haven't won a team trophy, and every year that goes by, you're more motivated and you're more determined to change that. And tomorrow night I have the opportunity to win, one of the biggest you could ever win, and to make history with my nation, which I'm extremely proud to be English. So, no question, I'd swap everything I've done in my career to have a special night and a win tomorrow evening. But
Cam, what do you think? I mean, you're a Spurs fan, so you've seen many of Harry Kane's final losses and the reasons he hasn't won things. Is it his fault?
Yeah, I verge somewhere in the middle of, you can take the man out of Tottenham, but you can't take Tottenham out of the man, and he has been very unlucky. I think sometimes with these things, you do manifest it in a way with these voodoo and these curses and stuff like that. You see it throughout all sports. Sometimes by thinking about it and sort of overthinking it, you sort of bring it into life a little bit. I think, you look at, again, we kind of go back to this point, right? Okay, this England team has suffered a lot of pain over the years, right? And I to sort of use an analogy here. When I read an article about how the penalty shootout against Switzerland, and Southgate's framing of it was, this is an opportunity for failure. It's an opportunity to go down in history as like a massive success. And you could see the 5 penalties takers all stepped up and had that in their mind. Kane needs the exact same thing. This is an opportunity for another failure, mate. This is an opportunity to go down as the greatest England captain since Bobby Moore and the boys back in the 60s. So if that's the way he frames it in his head, and hopefully, he's been a little bit underwhelming in finals previous. Hopefully this is the one where he really steps up and makes a difference for England.
I do think international football is really special because it brings all of the club rivalries aside. I mean, like I watched the England-Switzerland game with my friend who supports Spurs. You never have an Arsenal fan, a Spurs fan supporting a Chelsea player hitting the back of the net when Cole Palmer tucked his penalty away. I do think when it comes to Tottenham, everybody loves to lump it on because it's Tottenham. It's funny. I don't like, for some reason, they are the most hated club in the world. They're just a meme on social media nowadays. That's just how it is. But Harry Kane is not to blame for those losses in those finals. When you look at the Champions League final 2019, on paper, you don't expect Spurs to beat Liverpool. If you look to those League Cup finals that you lost, you don't expect Spurs to beat Chelsea, Man City. It's too much, in my opinion.
England expected to win tonight then,
That's the truth. If you look at the actual odds of what the neutral will be thinking around the world, Spain are probably the favourites.
For sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what the bookies will be saying as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
England do actually have a better record against Spain, though. In fact, we've played each other 27 times, and we've won more than half of that. England famously have a bit of a penalty curse, a curse I believe no longer exists because pressure is for tyres. But prior to Southgate taking charge of our national side, Spain were the only team England had ever beaten on penalties previously. The last time we played Spain was in the Nations League back in 2018, finished 3-2 to us. And look, despite our record against Spain being impressive, it is largely historic. In the last 14 times we've played them, Spain have the upper hand, winning 7, and we've won 4. The last 2 times that England have played Spain at major tournaments, the scores finished 0-0, although nothing this century. England have met Spain twice at the Euros before, winning 2-1 in the 1980 group stage before knocking them out on penalties in that 96 quarter-final. And with all of that, I have a question for you. I want your predictions, and I'm going to go to Cam first because you are normally right.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I feel so much pressure on this prediction. I feel like whatever I say, I'm going to speak into existence because of my weird sort of predictive powers that I've somehow sort of been able to, accumulate over the years. I go back and forth, and you know what? I came into the show in my head. I was going to come out and say 1-0 Spain. But actually, hearing that, the last 2 results have been 0-0. Finals are always a little bit feisty. They're always a little bit nervy. I'm going to go out and say it's going to be 0-0. It'll go to penalties, and then I'll let the gods decide after that, I think.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
You can't do that. I'm not
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Spain win on penalties.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Well, I'm actually...
It's now your fault, boys, if you do.
Yeah. Well, I've been all over the shop with this prediction, to be honest. I've been 1 minute England are going to win it, 1 minute Spain are going to win it. But I'm going to stick with my thought process in the semi-final where I predicted the Dutch to beat England. I do think this Spanish team have played too well compared to what England have, and I think the Spanish will win it 2-1. Unfortunately, heartbreak again.
I reckon that's a jinx. I like it.
Yeah,
you're both wrong. I've been to the future. I know the score already. England are winning the Euros today.
Come on.
We're going to come from a goal behind, as keeps happening in this Euros. Teams go 1 behind and come out of the shop. So whoever scores first is probably going to lose today. I'm going to go for Spain to score first, Dani Olmo, Bukayo Saka to equalise, and there's literally only one man that's going to score the winning goal for us in a final, Jude Bellingham. The man's a joke. He's an absolute joke. 2-1 England. You heard it here first. Before we wrap up, can we go to any comments that are coming through?
Yep. So we have one comment saying, tonight England will win 3-0 with a spot kick because everyone is focusing on Spain's attack, but they forget their defence is a relative weak spot.
A relative weak spot that hasn't really conceded very many. I think twice.
Yeah, it hasn't. They've also said Laporte is Spain's weakness. So not a fan of Laporte there. Obviously, he's playing in Saudi Arabia at the moment, so not the most competitive. And then we also have Andrew saying Luke Shaw to start or bring on to replace Trippier after halftime. What are we thinking there?
Great question.
Yeah,
Cam,
very good question.
I think I would start Luke Shaw because like the way I think, yeah, if you start Luke Shaw and he comes off after 30 minutes because he pulls an injury, then you can bring Trippier on. If you were to bring on Shaw, what if he gets injured in the 70th minute? Then you've just wasted a sub. You know what I mean? So I think you start him, and if he can get through the entire game, fantastic. I've been a little bit underwhelmed by Trippier, so Shaw for me.
I'd agree with that, but it is quite scary to put him up against Lamine Yamal when
I actually
he is
disagree.
somewhat lacking match fitness.
I'd start Trippier because I don't think Shaw can last 90, and I'd much rather have him coming on with all of his qualities,
more of a threat.
Yeah, I'd take that point.
So I think I'd start Trippier, bring Shaw on either half time or 60 minutes if it looks like it's going to go to extra time. I'd rather end with Shaw than start with him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Any other comments coming through? Or
No. That's it for today.
Fine. Then before we head, let's hear from Gareth Southgate one last time.
I don't have any fear of what might happen because I've been through everything. I want the players to feel that fearlessness. I want them to be able to be the best version of themselves because whatever happens, we're so strong as a group. We support each other. And I think if we're not, I said earlier in the tournament, if we're not afraid to lose, it gives us a better chance of winning. And that's very important for us.
Look, we've seen it all before, but this time we don't know. We're not sure. It's the second Euros final in a row, but this time we're on foreign soil, Berlin. The Germans came to England in 1996. They stole our moment, they stole our trophy, and they stole our anthem. Today, after 58 years of hurt, that is going to come to an end. Make sure you're watching with your family or your close friends because it's going to be a game to remember and one that you want to experience with your close ones. It's been a fantastic month with Haters and SofaScore. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you for the 24-25 Premier League season with football, hopefully,